Thanks so much for having us here today. I think Sal did most of my intro for me, but I'm Jessie. I'm a marketer turned investor. Through the Blend program, I was paired up with Steve Miller at Origin Ventures and also broke into Listen, so shout out. My thesis coming into the program was really about investing in brands that are building the next consumer goods, consumer technology, and e-commerce enablement products for the next generation of consumers. And I quickly realized that we're almost universally referring to Gen Z when we talk about the next generation. However, Gen Z's in this room, Gen Z's having kids. The next generation is really Gen Alpha, so I wanted to better understand them. So why should you care about Gen Alpha though? Well, one, they might be young, but they have purchasing power well beyond their years. In fact, I'm sure parents in the room can empathize. Kids start influencing household purchases around age 5. And about 80% of Gen Alpha says they can't wait to have their own money to spend, and they're going to have a lot of it. By about 2029, their economic footprint globally is going to reach almost like 5.5 trillion, which is pretty crazy. And their changing consumer behaviors and preferences are really shaping culture, tech, and media. So if you're wanting to build a brand of tomorrow or wanting to invest in one, it's critical that you get ahead of Gen Alpha now. So first, let's define our terms here. You need to understand who Gen Alpha is and what they care about. One, they're born between 2010 and 2024. They are the largest generation globally we have ever seen. By 2025, when they're all born, there's going to be about 2 billion. In the US alone, they're already the most diverse cohort when compared to the rest of the population. And no surprise here, they are the most digital forward generation we've ever seen. The first generation born fully in the 21st century and irreversibly impacted by COVID occurring during some of the most transformative years of their life, right? As a result, they've had iPads from birth, essentially. They've had game consoles by age 6 to 7, laptops by age 8 to 9 for school, smartphones by age 10. So this, was something a lot of parents were really reluctant towards, kind of accepted as their child's fate due to COVID. But actually, this accelerated adoption of technology has brought on some positive effects that we'll talk a little bit about today. And last but not least, they have the values of Gen Z supercharged. So everything you think Gen Z cares about, Gen Alpha is willing to put more action behind it. In fact, 75% of 8 to 10-year-olds are actively thinking about their mental health today. And that's because their parents are talking about it, Gen Zs and millennials all of the time, right? They want to work for brands that are saving the planet. They want to buy from brands that reflect their diversity, their values, and are doing good in the world. And the fascinating part of all of this is they're actually 43% more likely to be vocal about these opinions as compared to Gen Z. So Gen Alpha is really going to hold brands' feet to the fire. Now, at Listen, we spent a lot of time digging into these underlying consumer behavior shifts that drive culture changes and ultimately create investment opportunities. And I found in my research about Gen Alpha 3 really interesting behavioral shifts that set them apart from their predecessors, Gen Z. The first is the increasing influence of influencers. So with Gen Z, influencers are really at their core a great media distribution channel. With Gen Alpha, they are becoming a retail channel. Current content creators are going from just doing brand deals to actually building their own brands and becoming the point of sale themselves. Gen Alpha wants to buy directly from their favorite influencers. And this creates a lot of opportunities for venture in the tech that supports those experiences. Second is gaming. So Gen Alpha games a lot and they game differently. We're moving from Gen Z and millennials coming to gaming with a passive relaxation, escapism mindset to get away from the real world, whereas Gen Alpha really doesn't see a difference between how they show up virtually and how they show up in the real world, because they've shown up as them full selves in a digital environment their entire lives. And that means they're showing up to gaming with an active mindset as builders, as creators, as a means of self-expression, which creates a whole slew of venture opportunities. And lastly, going beyond tech usage to early tech adoption. So Gen Z is tech savvy, but Gen Alpha is eager to adopt emerging technologies. They want the tech that doesn't even exist yet. They want things that allow them to live seamlessly between those virtual and physical lives. So things like, the Internet of Senses and personalized AI that might feel a little sci-fi to us in this room right now are going to be the things that Gen Alpha drives adoption of. Now, while there's so much I could geek out about here with you and really dig into, given time today, we're going to focus a little bit more on gaming. So, like I said, Gen Alpha comes to gaming to create, to build, to self-express and socialize. And in fact, they're 2 times more likely to leverage gaming in this capacity compared to Gen Z. And this usage of gaming from such a young age is actually a really positive thing because, like I said, they're getting this active mindset. They're coming into these environments as active participants to solutions. And it makes sense when you look at the games that they love to play, their top favorite games. They're all about building, about self-expression, about socialization. So the brands that care about capturing Gen Alpha's interests and ultimately loyalty are meeting them where they're at, in game. They're facilitating socialization. They're allowing them to build and co-create with them, the brands. And a couple examples of this are, Ryan's World. So if you aren't familiar with Ryan, he's actually a Gen Alpha YouTuber who's built a $100 million empire, actually, off the back of his unboxing videos with licensing deals. And he's built in Roblox a world for his fans to come hang out and socialize. Nike, they enlisted a group of Gen Alphas to actually come build Airtopia in Nike Land, which is a space to honor the Air Max line. Vans built a skate park for users to socialize. Fenty created a lab for users to actually create their own lip gloss. And Rihanna actually picked one to create in the real world. So this is what brands have to do to connect with Gen Alphas. And when we think about the venture opportunities, they're vast, right? I mean, summed up, gamify everything for Gen Alpha. But there's 3 acute opportunities that really stuck out to me as being great for Gen Alpha. So one is in game learning environments, virtual mental health support, and of course, gaming, SaaS, and ad tech. So we know Gen Alpha is used to digital learning, they love gaming, and being able to do learning in an in-game environment allows them to continue building that muscle of being an active participant to solutions. A great example of this is Overture Games out of Northwestern's Garage, out of Chicago Techstars, a pre-seed company here that's allowing folks to learn an instrument through a video game environment. We also know, of course, how important mental health is to Gen Alpha now, and we know how much they love to socialize and game. So with this and the backdrop of the loneliness crisis, facilitating conversations about mental health in an in-game setting, I think, is a really fascinating endeavor. And these are 2 brands, Hero Journey Club and Inner World, that just received seed funding in that exact niche. And lastly, of course, the tech that allows Gen Alpha to show up authentically as themselves and organically connect with brands in their existing favorite games will continue to grow. A great example of this is Ready Player Me. This is a Series B startup backed by A16Z that has essentially created a cross-game avatar creation platform to allow for any game to have thousands of avatar customizations for their users, allowing you to, again, show up as your full self virtually. So, lots of good info there, but you know who Gen Alpha is now. You know what they care about. You know why they're so important to you as investors and some culture shifts that they're driving. But I'd love to sum all this up through the lens of how Gen Alpha is changing our traditional consumer purchase funnel. So first and foremost, discovery with Gen Alpha is different. They spend an outsized amount of time in-game and on YouTube. So how will your brands build community with them through the spaces and places that they care about? Second, Gen Alpha expects seamless omni-channel experiences. They see no difference between their virtual and physical selves. So how will your brand build omni-channel experiences and purchase opportunities for them across those spectrums? And lastly, Loyalty with Gen Alpha is gained through authentically representing them and co-creating with them. They are purpose-driven builders. So how will your brands engage with them and share their values authentically? That's all I've got on Gen Alpha today, but there's so much more we could talk about. So if this is at all interesting to you, or if you want to chat about anything in the broad world of consumer or branding, I would love to connect. Feel free to reach out directly here or set up a call directly on the QR code. Thank you so much for your time.